Hi, everyone. This is Jox, and this is the Corporate Filipina, a platform that aims to amplify and diversify global Filipino voices in the corporate and business world. So, we have here my very first guest, and I'm excited for this. She's my friend, the ever brilliant Karla Velez. Hi,
Hi.
Karla.
Hi,
Hi.
Jox. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, tell us who you are, what you've been doing, where you
Mhm,
are. Of course, you are in
mhm.
a great place, but yeah, introduce yourself and let everyone know about where you are right now.
Hi, everyone, again. I'm Karla Velez. So, born and bred Filipino, but I've been in my career, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. For the last, I would say, 18 years, I think, and counting, in an industry that allowed me to go to different places, discover people, cultures. And I am here in Paris. So this is my third country that has given me the opportunity to have a good job and also be able to explore again cultures, different ways of life, and also cultivate friendships.
That's amazing. So, can you tell us what you currently do in Paris?
So I am now the global media director in L'Oreal Group. So it's a corporate function, but what I am doing as a media director is basically I help our local markets give guidelines, the fundamentals that are essential to make sure that when we spend our media investment, it is done through the best way possible in terms of driving ROI, making sure that your brand performance metrics are going up. So it's really all about finding these avenues to touch our consumers in the most efficient and effective way.
Ang galing. So, um, how did you get to L'Oreal? Like, where did you start your career journey, and how do you
Mhm.
get to where you are right now?
I'm very lucky to say that I chanced upon this job after graduation. Basically, after graduation in the Philippines, I was looking for a job and I graduated in communication research. And it turns out that there's this world called media planning and buying. And back then, I really thought that if a brand wants to be on the television or if a brand wants to have a billboard, you just talk to someone and say, I want to be on that billboard. But
Right.
apparently, there's a lot of science and thinking behind it. And that really sparked my curiosity and gave me an avenue to come back to what I trained for, which is communication and statistics analysis here and there with a good eye for the consumer. So it really is a good, a good combination of what I really like. That part of communication and that part of really talking to people and infusing some math behind it. So I started in the Philippines and I was part of the Procter and Gamble team. It's a media agency side, but it's basically helping Procter and Gamble plan. And I used to say I was lucky because I got a part of the portfolio that talk to housewives, and you know how important Filipino housewives are.
Mhm,
And you really you
mhm.
ground yourself and you see your mom, your aunt, and you understand where they're coming from. And my work is finding ways to reach them, to tell them that hey, we have a product and it could help you. It could make your time efficient so that you have time for your family, for your loved ones. So to me, that was amazing. And then after that I got the opportunity to move to Mexico. So that was a big move. But that opportunity in Mexico was with the team of Coca-Cola, and
Mhm.
it's like a bit of a shift because in Coca-Cola it's all about the hearts and the minds of the consumer, plus you're talking to younger generation. So as us Filipinos, and to be fair, Mexicans, we're not very far culturally, but at the same time, it gave me a different view of how other cultures also operate. So that's a good a good transition for me. And then I got the chance to move to UK, where I met you again.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Fun times.
yes, that was great time. So I was in the UK again with Procter and Gamble, but this time looking at Gillette. So that brand is full men brand, but again another avenue to train myself to explore and to understand different, means of communicating with different audiences. And finally, here in Paris, I'm here now for the last 6.5 years. I've been with L'Oreal, and L'Oreal is all about beauty. So
Right.
we believe that you know um, beauty is an opportunity to make us feel good. It could shape and move the world, and I feel very lucky to be able to work in this industry. And at the same time, it's beauty. I'm female, I love it, so I'm obsessed, equally obsessed. And I guess that's part of that stickiness of what I do every day, and I enjoy it every day.
That's amazing. So you are truly a global Filipina.
You can say
So
that.
being a global Filipina, what do you think are the differences from a cultural standpoint, and what, belief systems or training
Mhm.
in the Philippines have you applied in the global stage, for example?
um I would say definitely Filipino training allows us to be very resilient. No,
Right.
you approach work in the lens of, I want to do it, I will do my best, and I will deliver. And again, if you see culture by culture, it could resilience in a sense, in the Filipino sense, is not necessarily the same in the other cultures. And I guess that's one thing that I have used to my advantage, because people rely to me now because they know that I will really work hard,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
will deliver and I will do my best. um Another thing that I think culturally is very, very different is how we position ourselves. Especially me, and I'm not making a generalization, but I would find that most Filipinas would tend to be a bit more reserved, would listen to others more than speak for the sake of speaking.
Right.
But sometimes it depends on, I guess, where you are, in your career. We have to kind of switch a little bit and be able to really voice what we think of, like establish that we have a seat at the table
Mm,
and be able to give a strong point of view. Again, I feel that giving a point of view means you really want to say something that is of quality. You're not just having SOV,
right.
it's not a share
Just for
voice
the
game.
sake of talking. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I still value that when someone opens their mouth, they're really there to contribute and not just be there because I want to be another voice. So I feel like, again, it's a different approach to how you position yourself. And again, as you go higher and higher in your career, I think you just need to be able to establish yourself. And I feel that's really one thing that I really, really need to switch, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a given to me. It's not like immediately that's my first reaction. But then, in order to be able to establish yourself, you have to be able to adjust and do
So, how do you keep yourself confident? Is,
that.
to your point, especially in tables that could be a little bit intimidating.
Mhm,
And I would assume that most of these tables you are in are diverse tables, right? So, how do you keep yourself confident?
mhm. um I think that the notion of fake it till you make it, I don't believe in that, because I feel that my ability to be able to be present in that table and to really contribute in that table is me being an expert and knowing what I'm really talking about.
Right.
And that's what weeds you out from the talent versus the employees. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like to be able to be there and be a good contributor, you really need to know what you're talking about. You have to be an expert. Or if not, I believe that there's continuous training. I mean, we are in an environment and we are in an industry that things shift all the time, everything changes. And I feel it's upon us to continue to train ourselves
Mm.
so that when we go to the workplace or when we meet our colleagues or our bosses, you don't sound empty. What you're saying really matters and really makes sense.
How do you bring your true and full self to the table? Like,
Mhm.
being a proud Filipina, how do you bring that to the table?
My bosses always tell me that one distinct characteristic for me as a Filipina apparently is I entered the table with a presence, but it's more positive.
Right.
I start with a smile. I mean,
Right.
sometimes even when the discussions are heated, I kind of diffuse that because I approach it with a different aura. That's what they say.
That's
So I think
amazing.
that's one flavor I bring in, and not everyone has that. So I think that is to my advantage. But at the same time, I feel like I also enter meetings or communications with a level of balance, no? So my ability and my training to listen first and react later is
Mm.
really, really advantageous because you kind of allow your colleagues to articulate and explain what they mean before you jump in and give your comments or give your counter argument. So I feel that is also another way for us to have a good communication. And I think for the last few years, that has been the feedback, and I would say positive feedback about me. And I would say that comes back to me being Filipina.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's true. I love the point that you said that you really got to speak with substance. You have to know your stuff and you're not faking it. You are really confident because you know your stuff. You
Mm,
know how to speak with integrity because it comes from a place of expertise. It comes from a place of confidence, and
mhm,
it's not built on feeble things, for example, or shallow things. Um, as a global Filipina, for anyone who wants to follow your path or emulate your
mhm.
path, what would you tell them? What is that one thing that they need to do? Of course, there's logistics to this, but in
True.
terms of tapang, like
Yeah,
fierceness
yeah.
and courage, right?
Mhm.
What would you tell them?
Mm. I love that you mentioned the word tapang, and tapang is like being brave, no? Being very open and taking that challenge. And I think that's one thing that I have used for the last years that I have moved countries, taken on different roles. I mean, I would attribute it to the fact that from Philippines to Mexico, I have been quite open. I said I was young. This is an opportunity. I know it's a country that not many people know, and my family was even like questioning me, why would I go there? No, almost Pacific Ocean away from the Philippines. But it's like that tapang, that willingness to embark on a journey, not knowing exactly what will happen, but taking it one day at a time, taking it as an opportunity for growth, I think
Hmm.
has been one thing that kept me from exploring and growing, as I've mentioned. And then same from Mexico to UK and UK to France here in Paris. Again, it's that openness that everything is an opportunity. And it's really up to you on how you want to mold it, how you want to take that opportunity, and where you want to end up with that starting opportunity. I feel like that's something that would be quite helpful. And likewise, it's quite similar to tapang. It's like um, being afraid and having preconceived notions would be completely counterproductive for you. Of course, everyone's just human. So you would have your doubts, your moment of, is this right? Am I taking it doing it correctly, no, that happens, and that's completely normal. But at the same time, being able to balance what you think or your doubts are versus what you also see as opportunities would be as equally good to forge a path ahead.
Oh, that is so, I'm inspired by you. Like I feel like I want to do it all over again. um, so years later, multiple countries, what are you most proud of?
Ah, wow, most proud of. I would start, and I hope uh, anyone who's watching me will not get annoyed or will feel like, what is she talking about? But I would say I'm proud of the person I've become
Hmm.
with the experiences that I have gathered. I mean, of course, there's growth professionally. I was able to build a career out of it. I was able to build an expertise out of it, and that's fantastic. But at the same time, I feel like I have been able to mold myself personally in such way that at the end of the day, or even without the job that I have right now, I feel good about myself because I
Wow.
feel like I've built something, and it's not like always rosy, yeah. Like moving from one country to another, you will have your challenges, will have the obstacles, you name it. But I feel like that has allowed me to build a stronger version of me throughout the years. And I feel like challenges come and go, personal, professional, but I feel like I am at the point that I am able to weather that. So that's
Right.
fantastic. And then less about me, but I would say what I'm very proud of as well is the relationships that I have built across
Mm.
all these journeys, different countries, like you, one of my best friends. I mean, and it's like being able to build a community, a support system
Right.
is super important as you go through that country hopping,
Country hop.
path. But because I remember when I was in Mexico, I wasn't looking for Filipino friends. No, it wasn't that. I was quite open to having other friends, and that's fantastic because that allowed me to have friends from other nationalities, no other cultures. But at the same time, having that experience in UK with you and here in Paris with my group of Filipinas, you understand how being grounded
Mm.
and feeling supported is as important for you to be able to say, yes, I can do this, and I know I will not be alone. So I feel like those two things have been like key things that I have been proud of for taking on this journey.
Yeah, because as they say, it takes a village, and you're never really fully alone. It's never just, yeah, of course, most of it is about you, but the
Mm-hmm.
support system behind you, the people who
Absolutely.
cheer you on no matter what. And you've been one of my cheerleaders, biggest cheerleaders, and I am one of your biggest cheerleaders. And we may not be in the same place anymore, but I'm always cheering you on. I'm so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished. But I really love your answer that despite the job, the very important role you have at L'Oreal, it's really about who you have become as a person. And I really love that as an answer. I guess my last question, and this is a bonus question, is we
All
know
right.
we talked about tapang earlier, but I asked you
Mhm.
about this. Like, what is your favorite Filipino word and why that is?
I would have said tapang, but since we talked about this, honestly, the first thing I always think of is astig.
Mm,
That's a
wow, that's strong. That's strong.
that's strong. I mean, it would be, I wouldn't say completely difficult to explain, but astig is like strong in a sense,
With
but
swagger.
yeah, with a little swagger here and there. And for a person who's like 5 feet we're brown, female, you don't always equate astig with our, with how
Stature.
we look. Exactly, with how we look. But I feel like I would I would describe myself as astig. I would describe you as astig because I feel like we have been able to nurture a career, build our lives, and be able to thrive and be successful on it. And that alone, I feel like, is worth calling us astig.
Oh my gosh, that is so. I'm like I'm speechless right now because I have not heard that word in so long, and it's such a powerful word. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Mhm.
And this has been a wonderful discussion with you. I have not really talked to you about these things
That's
in
true.
general, so it's so good that you are sharing everything with us, and I hope that a lot of people will be able to relate and resonate your thoughts with. So yeah, anything else that you might want to impart before we wrap up?
Well, first, I just want to say that being Filipina, being female, is always a strength. I always think that we have been nurtured and nourished by our parents, our mothers, our grandmothers. Our Filipino roots make us strong by design, and I think that would only play to our advantage. And I think that to anyone who might be watching this is uh, over the years you might have doubts, you might have questions of on your capabilities, on how you display yourselves to others, but yourself to others, sorry. But I feel that you just need to come back to yourself, believe in yourself, know your worth,
Mm, mm.
because no one will believe you if you don't believe in yourself to start with. So that's what I say.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Carla. Again, lovely message, lovely things, only great things from you as usual. So thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great day.
you. Have a great day.